biggest one around. For instance, when we get the new mine tour open, we're going to take people through a stope over there, which goes on for, I've measured it just over 700 feet continuously, and it's twice the size of this in places. It's unbelievable. But you got to admit, this is pretty impressive. Okay, right now we're about 100 feet directly below the Dragoon Saloon, our open air / inside bar up there. And at the same time, we're about 400 feet above the water table. So it's kind of nice to know we're closer to beer than we are to water. Like that. So it took us over a year to get this mine ready to open. And it was a real mess when we started. I mean, this was nothing but a nasty, dirty, old abandoned mine, and you could barely even walk in here. So we had our work cut out. We started out with compressed air, and we blew the dust and the dirt off everything, washed everything down with plenty of water, and that really brought out the color. The path itself took a lot of work. Some places, like right through here, we had to cut through solid rock. Then we smoothed it over with concrete, which came down here in 80-pound bags on our shoulders, I'll have you know. That was a blast. Other places we had to dig through massive piles of rock, and we built I don't know how many feet of our own walls. And as we worked, we ran across all these artifacts. This is just a sampling of the items that we found while working down here. Stuff like this. It's called strap rail. It's the type of track that they were using here. They would nail it to lengths of wood, usually 2x4s, but this gives you an idea as to what the track looked like. Now this arrangement is not as strong or as durable as the more common solid steel rail. But strap rail was cheaper for one thing, but I think the main reason that they went with this was to save on freight costs. Now back in 1878 and 79, when things were getting started here, Tombstone was incredibly isolated. Closest railhead was clear down in Casa Grande, 140 odd miles away. And everything had to be freighted here from there on mule-drawn wagons through the desert. Now that was a dusty, miserable, dangerous journey that could take days. So they charged a lot of money for freight. This is much lighter than solid rail, so they probably saved quite a bit by going with this. As the railroad got closer and shipping became more reasonable, they did switch to the more durable stuff. But in Tombstone's earliest workings, strap rail is what you'll find. So this dates the place. This is one of Tombstone's oldest mines. Other items we found, we don't even know what they're for, like this bracket. I couldn't tell you what it was holding together, but what's neat about it is it's obviously hand-forged. It most likely came from the mine's blacksmith shop. Each mine had one. That's where they mainly sharpened drill steels, but they'd also fabricate items like this. And we found cans, plenty of them. They had to eat lunch, right? So here's somebody's lunch from around 1880. Yeah, some miner ate a can of beans, peaches, tomatoes, I don't know what. Then threw the can away, and that's what remained until we found it. Historic garbage, right? But look at how they put their cans together back then. Soldered together with lead. Yeah, both outside and in. There's a big old bead of lead in here. And it was lined with tin to make it less poisonous. Less. But if the manufacturer got cheap and skimped on the amount of tin they're supposed to line these with, somebody was bound to get lead poisoning. Apparently that wasn't too unusual back then. Toxic beans for lunch, anybody? And we found tools. Here's a broken drill steel. It snapped while they were using it and they threw it away. Other tools we found were in much better shape, like this moil. See, there's nothing wrong with it. And I'm convinced that somebody must have misplaced it. I can't see it being thrown out. Got a different tip than a drill steel, and it was used to prepare the working face before they started drilling. They'd take this and a hammer and chisel away any loose or fractured rock until they had a solid rock face to drill into. And shouldn't be too surprising that we found plenty of dynamite fuse. Dynamite fuse from the 1880s. All it is twine with a core of black powder, coated with tar and wrapped with cloth tape to make it moisture resistant. Burned at 45 seconds to the foot. This sets off the blasting cap and that sets off the charge. Part of a dynamite crate. It was put together with square nails. That tells you it's 19th century. And you see the white stuff on there? Candle wax. Yeah, candle wax. That's the only source of light they had while working down here were candles. These guys are pulling 10-hour shifts down here with nothing but candlelight. Now that kind of adds another dimension to what you're seeing here today. Not only was all this accomplished through sheer physical back-breaking work, but in the dark with a candle burning. Here's the exact same amount of light they had to work by. This is all you get right here. That's it. That's all. Yeah, welcome to the world of the 19th century hard rock miner. Now to us, in this day and age, it just seems amazing, unbelievable that somebody would come down here and work by candlelight. I mean, that's crazy. But we're talking about the 19th century here, and back then, when the sun went down at night, you didn't just reach over and flip the lights on. No, you lit a candle or you lit a kerosene lamp, and this is how you lived after dark. So this is the amount of light that they're used to anyway. It didn't faze them a bit to come down here and work by candlelight because this is what they were accustomed to. It's all they knew. And I've come down here plenty of times and lit a candle and turned off the lights. And once your eyes adjust, you'd be surprised how well you can see. You can actually get something done this way. But all the same, I'm not about to trade my nice mag light for a candle.
So why would they go just by candlelight and not a kerosene lantern?
Too dangerous. Now they put out a lot of fumes, and if you drop one on the ground, you got fire. And boy, that's the last thing that they wanted underground. Now they did have these little lanterns with like a little wick on them that they used in the copper mines back east, back in Michigan. But in most of the pictures you see of old photographs of miners at work, they've got candles. They would have these custom candle holders that they make. They take a piece of stiff wire, sharpen the end, and make a loop for the candle and another loop for their thumb. And they'd stick those in cracks in the rock so that the candle was next to where they were working, you know. But it did get much better at the turn of the century. That's when the carbide lamp was patented. These are what replaced candles underground, and it's a huge improvement. You put water up there, calcium carbide down there, looks like little black rocks. Water dripping onto the carbide starts a chemical reaction which produces acetylene gas, just like you'd use in a cutting torch. The acetylene comes out that jet in the center, you'd light it with that striker, and you got a brilliant white flame, shoots out about 1.5 inches, and you can see real well using these. So these are in common use until the 1930s when battery operated lights began to replace them. And you wouldn't want to use one of these in a coal mine. These still have the main problem is it's still using an open flame. So yeah, if you're using one of these in a coal mine and there's enough methane gas present, you're running the risk of blowing the whole place up. But you don't have to worry about that here. This is a hard rock mine, not a coal mine. Never any danger of explosive gases being present in a mine like this. So there's one thing they didn't have to worry about. If that's a carbide can, that's what the stuff came in. Somebody put a handle on this one, converting it into a bucket. So if you worked up there, you take your lunch, your tools, everything else you needed for your shift, put it all in the bucket and haul it up there at the end of a rope. And that'd be much easier than dragging everything behind you as you crawled and slithered your way through a series of cramped holes to get up there. And that's almost another level. That goes on several hundred feet. They just followed the ore body wherever it took them. Every lead, every vein. That's why you see all the holes. It's where they're following something. Goes off in all directions, like I said. Hey, watch your heads going through here. It gets kind of low.
I've heard all kinds of nasty stuff he's put off by that. But that's somebody got good water on it.
They just had the acetylene plant in Kentucky blow up. Yeah. And it was a carbide, calcium carbide plant.
Definitely the guy
Okay, we call this dope the chap.